All right. And what is going on, guys? And this is the first of 32 videos that we will be making that will be recapping the 2019 season and previewing the 2020 NFL season. And we kick off with the team that had the worst record in the NFL, and it is the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals had one Pro Bowler, that was Geno Atkins. But the big story going into the 2019 season for the Cincinnati Bengals was the firing of Marvin Lewis. 16 seasons as Bengals head coach, been to the playoffs 7 times, and he had an over as far as playoff wins. He went 0 and 7. 0 and 7. Cincinnati, the previous season, had went 6 and 10, and they were looking to improve upon that mark. A couple of guys, that they had picked up in free agency for 2019. Tom Savage, Tyler Eifert, they re-signed. Tyler Croft, Jake Fisher. They lost Vontaze Burfict, Mark Walton, Clint Bowling, Kermit Whitfield. They drafted, the first round, they drafted Jonah Williams, a tackle. So, also got Ryan Finley. That is going to be important to note. So the season, they go 1 and 3 in the preseason, whatever. So Cincinnati opens up the season against Seattle and loses 21-20. You're thinking, hey, it's whatever. Cincinnati would start the season off 0 and 11. 0 and 11. And in that time, you would see Andy Dalton and Ryan Finley start for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I did not pay attention to a lot of Bengals football this past year, but I do know that A.J. Green was out the whole season. I do know that A.J. Green was out, and that was a big reason why this team did so bad. The Bengals were actually at one point leading in this game against Seattle. They lost 21-20. Week 2, they get their tails kicked in 41-17 against the Niners. These scores are not pretty. 21-17 to the Bills, 27-3 to the Steelers on Monday Night Football. I'm not going to go by all of the scores. Just know they had a game in which they lost in London to the Rams, lose to the Ravens 49-13. But week 13, all right, week 13, they take on the New York Jets, and something magical happens. The Bungles, that I like to call them, don't bungle. The Bengals went at home. Andy Dalton came in after they went 0-3 under Ryan Finley. They won this game 22-6 and got their first win of the season, ending the possibility of them going 0-16, which was a high possibility, them going 0-16. But yeah, then they lose to the Browns again, lose to New England, lose to Miami in Week 16, which secures the first-round pick. Then what do the Bengals do? They win the last game of the season against Cleveland. They win 33-23 to go to 2-14. Zach Taylor keeps his job at 2-14, which I can kind of understand in a way. He didn't have A.J. Green. He was depleted. Obviously, Cincinnati, it'd be the first time since 2003 that they picked first, and they got Carson Palmer then. Obviously, they had the worst record in the NFL. They drafted number 1 overall. But real quick, before I talk about the draft, something happened a few days ago that I think was big. You can see the star in the background. Andy Dalton signed with the Dallas Cowboys, which I'll talk to you more about when I go to Dallas. and I'll talk about Dallas. But now going into 2020, uh, DJ Reader was signed from the Texans. Trey Waynes was signed from the Vikings. Von Bell, Mike Thomas, Jacquez Patrick. You know, Cordy Glenn, they lost him. They lost John Miller to the Panthers. Andy Dalton, like I said, on April 30th, signed with the Cowboys. Dre Kirkpatrick left. So, you know, they picked up a couple of good guys here and there. You know, they got some guys back. Obviously, one of the big guys that they got back was AJ Green. Hopefully, he stays healthy. Now, a big thing was longtime tank for Tua, but the man that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to bring in and are going to have their future around is the LSU quarterback, Joe Burrow. Good old Joe Burrow. You got to love him. Heisman Trophy winner, national champion. Joe Burrow was the number one overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Obviously, you're going to have Ryan Finley as the backup there. But then you also had T. Higgins, which was a good pickup for them as well. Wide receiver out of Clemson. So they picked up a couple of undrafted free agents. A tackle, two linebackers, a guard, a D tackle, a D lineman, a tight end, a wide receiver. So, you know, hey, with Giovanni Bernard, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, this team is evolving. Real quick, they have not announced the schedule yet, but this team is evolving and is doing everything, making steps in it in the right direction. I do think they will do better than 2-14. I'm looking at the schedule right now. Obviously, home and away. They play Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Okay, conference opponents at home this year: Jacksonville, Tennessee. On the road, Houston, Indianapolis. So that could be maybe two wins there if they play right. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. They're gonna get swept by Baltimore, but hey, things could be looking up for them. Next up, conference opponent based on 2019 division placement. They've got the Chargers and the Dolphins. 2 wins that could potentially be happening. Then you have Dallas, which I hope, just in that Dallas game, I hope that they don't start Dak, and I hope that they have Andy Dalton face Cincinnati. That would be a compelling story. They did that. They also play the Giants at home. That's something cool to note. On the road, they face the Eagles and the Redskins, so they could easily beat the Redskins. You know, you get a good look at Chase Young, the number 2 overall pick, against Joe Burrow, which is, like I said, that's the team that we're going to be talking about next, is the Redskins. Overall, though, I'm looking at this maybe about 6 wins, maybe, if they play their cards right. So I don't see Cincinnati going to the playoffs, but I see them doing a lot better in the 2020 season coming up than I do the 2019 season. Like I said, they're evolving. They made some key moves in free agency. They picked up the quarterback of the future, and they even cleared some cap space by letting Andy Dalton go. Andy Dalton, which I do have to remind you, is not a bad quarterback. I've been seeing a lot of people say, oh, well, it was a good move for them. Andy Dalton was trash. Might I remind you, Andy Dalton, his first 5 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals, was in the playoffs for 5 years. Dude is a 3-time Pro Bowler. Let that sink in. He's coming in behind Dak. He's probably going to be the backup. So I do expect Cincinnati to have a decent season. Like I said, 5-11, 6-10, that range, though. I don't see them. Their ceiling, to me, is 8. That's their ceiling. Their floor is 2 or 3. That is their floor. I could see their floor being about 2 with their ceiling 8, but I don't see them getting 8. I see them getting right there in the middle with 5 and 6. I'm sorry about the way the pictures were. I was doing this from my phone, and I guess the files ended up getting corrupted. Anyway, next episode we're going to be talking about the Washington Redskins. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Anyway, your boy Killer Cam is going out. Peace. I'm out.